Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. I'm joined by Travis McGhee of FuturesANIMal. Hello, how are you?
Fabulous, Joe.
Welcome to the show. Happy to have you here. Yeah, absolutely. Something that I have been thinking about the last few days is how volatile the market has been.
Sure.
But it's not necessarily bad news. In fact, there's lots of instruments that do really well in volatile markets.
Yeah, there absolutely are. You know, it's a shame that there's a perception of the market that it's only good if it goes up.
Right.
You know, if it's up, it's a good day. If it's down, it's a bad day. And that's not necessarily the case anymore. There's a lot of instruments and tools for the investor to where you can either protect or hedge your portfolio to the downside so you can keep yourself from losing money, or you can just straight out make money if the market goes down.
Yeah, bet against it.
Betting against the market. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a number of different ways. So, yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily, I think people need to get away from the mindset, well, it's only good if it goes up. If it goes down, it's bad.
Right. One thing that kind of goes along with that, I think, though, is that people's perception is, and it's been the case, certainly for years, that the only people that could really get into these investments were the very wealthiest.
Right. When you're talking about the alternative investments, which is a lot of what we specialize in, historically it has been reserved for wealthier people because most of the larger hedge funds and alternative investors, you know, they lock your money up for a period of time, can be up to 5 years or so, and, you know, they're taking a 2% cut of whatever assets you have under management, and they're taking a 20% cut of whatever capital gains you have during the year. So it can be a costly venture. So it has been reserved more for the wealthier individuals. But, you know, firms like ours, FuturesANIMal, we're trying to bring that world and same access to everyday investors.
How does that work? Explain how you do that.
Well, there's no reason it should be reserved for the wealthier. Right. So we're not locking people's money up. We're not charging what's called the 220. You know, it's just a straight discount brokerage type commission schedule, but with the same access and service that you would have at any of the largest funds in the world. You know, you have your own personal broker 24 hours a day that's there for you, that's a professional, that's helping you set up your portfolio as well as manage the risk inside of your portfolio. Because our feeling has always been, and when I started the company, my thought was, after working for some of the larger institutional desk and investment banks, is why are they treated differently than everyone else? There's really no reason for it. Everybody should have access to these markets, and not only that, everybody should have access to the same quality of service.
Was the reasoning that you think that was occurring was just simply people's fear as an account manager of introducing some of these things to their investors?
There's a little bit.
What was the reasoning behind it?
Well, there's a little bit of that. And quite honestly, I think the reasoning was that a lot of the investment banks could get away with it for so long and make a lot of money off of it. That
why share it?
Why do anything differently?
Yeah.
And then, you know, as information became more readily available, certainly through the internet, and people started to learn what alternative investments are, whether it's you know, real estate, whether it's the futures market, the options market, anything outside of just a simple stock and bond market. As people became more educated and started asking their brokers about it, they wanted to get involved too, and, you know, firms like ours came out to help service those individuals.
Now, I know each individual investor, you know, the implement you may wish to take would be different depending on their situation. But are there some that are performing very well right now that you would consider?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have individuals who perform very well, and how defining well is obviously again, you know, it's who you are and what you define as well. But, you know, some people are more willing to take risk than others. But generally speaking, people are finding the yield that they aren't finding in other places with firms like ours.
Are we back to those percentages that we enjoyed with some of the, you know, the larger mutual, you know, bonds, things like that? Are we getting to that level? Or are we back into this, you know, above in the teens?
You know, I think, you know, I don't know. You know, it depending on the year. Last year was certainly a year of the teens as far as, you know, the type of returns we were seeing. But you know, with heading into this year, with the market that's down, was down in January and February when you and I talked, 6%, we were up on the year. So we were doing very well.
Yeah, sometimes that's the whole point. Is if the market's down 6 and you're up 6, you're making 12.
Yeah,
That's you got to think about it like that, right?
Absolutely have to think about it like that. So. I know we're going to have our event at Deer Valley this weekend.
And this is when you'll really be talking about this and laying it out for people.
Yeah, it's going to be this Saturday.
Okay.
And it's going to start at 8:30 in the morning. It's just going to be a little half-day event till 12:30. And we're going to talk about alternative investments, what they are, how we use them, and how you as the retail investor can get involved in alternative investments. So
it's very cool because, as you said, we already kind of know that the market has had a little bit of a trip at the early part of this year, and we probably aren't expecting things to just be skyrocketing like really. Can we expect a year like last year? That would be tremendous.
It would be.
But
it would be. But
how often does that happen?
Not very often.
Exactly.
I mean, it could happen, but I'm skeptical of that happening.
I am too. So looking at some of these alternative investments, certainly looking at tracking the market down too, and making money there is a good thing.
Diversifying your assets. That's all it is. Yep.
Excellent stuff. So again, it's at Deer Valley this weekend.
Yeah, it's in the Evergreen Room at the Lodges.
Okay.
You could find all the information and register. Make sure you register because the seats are limited at FuturesANIMal.com.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Travis McGhee, thank you as always.
Thanks, Joe.
Good information right there from Futures Animal. We'll be back with more right here on the Mountain Morning Show after these commercial messages.